Part 22. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 211. Su Yang raised his hand and slapped Wang Fuegui directly on the head, saying with a black face, "Fuck you, what the hell, this is the filth caused by washing the essence and cutting the marrow." "What the hell?" Wang Fuegui paused, and after reacting, he said sheepishly, "Well, Mr. Su, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you." "What did you say to me?" Su Yang frowned. "Sorry. Can you say that again?" "Sorry." Boom. 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 After Su Yang heard this, he didn't say anything. He grabbed Wang Fuegui and beat him severely. The beating made Wang Fuegui scream and lay on the ground twitching. "Hey, the worst thing about this world is that Zuyan Si Jing Hua Si Shu, my brother for so many years, you actually said sorry to me. We have faded away. Our relationship will eventually fade away." Su Yang shook his head and said, and quickly walked out of the room. Although Wang Fuegui was beaten violently, it was just a joke, and Su Yang acted in a measured manner. Now Wang Fuegui is a cultivator at the first level of Qi training. He has also experienced the cleansing of essence and marrow. His skin is rough and his flesh is thick, and he can withstand beatings and recover quickly. Not long after, Wang Fuegui walked down from the third floor with an excited smile on his face. "Young Master Su, I feel so strong now, haha, I love you so much." Wang Fuegui opened his arms to hug Su Yang. "Fuck off, I don't want to cuddle with an old man like you." Su Yang pushed Wang Fuegui away, and then warned, "Digest the information in your mind, it will be good for you." "Okay." Wang Fuegui couldn't help but ask, "Young Master Su, is the immortal heavenly kung fu you taught me powerful? Is it as powerful as my Li family's internal skills and mental skills? Are you kidding me?" Su Yang glanced at Wang Fuegui and said calmly, "Compared with the immortal heavenly skill, the Li family's internal strength is insignificant. One is underground and the other is in the sky. They are not of the same magnitude at all." "Haha, awesome." Wang Fuegui was very excited, and then asked, "What about the reincarnation sword technique, is it awesome?" "Nature." Su Yang said truthfully, "When you practice to great success, you can cut through the void with one sword and cut through eternity. Young Master Wang, you possess the Tali sword body, and your future achievements are limitless. You may even surpass me. You have to work hard to practice," Su Yang said seriously. "Haha. Shuang, although I don't know how strong the Tali sword body is, but Mr. Su, I believe your words." Wang Fuegui excitedly hugged Su Yang's neck and promised, "Young Master Su, don't worry. When I become awesome in the future, I will protect you. If there is a beautiful woman, you go first. You will always be my brother. I will dislike you. Roll." Su Yang rolled his eyes at Wang Fuegui, and then said, "I haven't even finished writing the 8 characters yet, so you should do it first." "Haha." Wang Fuegui laughed heartily, and then said, "Young Master Su, I am also a cultivator now. You can get me a weapon or something when you see it. It's easy. I know how to refine weapons and I can refine a long sword for you if I have the chance." Su Yang smiled. "Sword? I'm not interested in swords." Wang Fuegui shook his head and said seriously, "Young Master Su, can you refine a suana for me? My suana playing skills are top-notch, and my hands are just for holding the suana." "Suana?" Su Yang was stunned, still unable to connect suana with an ethereal and refined swordsman. "Yes, I want the suana." Wang Fuegui was very serious, and then said, "I am so awesome, I have to change my name. Wang Fuegui is too country bumpkin. I don't know what my father thought in the first place, giving me such a bad name. Tai Li sword body, I am so awesome, my name must be more domineering, Wang Qi? Wang Baichuan? Wang Kanglan?" Wang Fuegui asked, Young Master Su, which of these names do you think is more suitable for me? I think Wang Baden is a good name and suits you well, Su Yang said with a smile. Wang Baden. Wang Fugui muttered something silently, and before he could react, Su Yang left the villa living room. Young Master Wang, I have to go to Li Family Manor to see concubine Xian. I don't have time to talk to you. Remember, don't tell others that you are a cultivator. Damn it, Mr. Su, how can you curse people? You're not polite. When Wang Fugui came back to his senses, Su Yang had already walked away. He murmured in a low voice, isn't it just that I'm looking for a wife? Who doesn't have one? I'll also look for Lu Shushan. Damn, violent girl, I asked you to beat me up. Today I will let you know why the flowers are so red. Hearing this, Su Yang smiled softly and said, you have misunderstood concubine Xian. In fact, she has nothing to do with Su Xiantian. Besides, she is not that kind of person. Just lift her ban. Gee, we have to sleep together at night. That's not possible. It's inconvenient. Immediately afterwards, Li Chunfeng appeared. Su Yang smiled, and then said, Grandpa Li, I came to Li's house today to take Fixuan out to play. By the way, I want to tell you, don't lock Fixuan in the future. If she wants to go out, just let her go. Ha ha ha, you boy is so talented. You are worthy of being my grandson-in-law, Li Chunfeng was full of praise. Hey, Su Yang, there are some things you may not know, and I'm too embarrassed to tell them. Grandpa Li, thank you very much. Li Chunfeng looked at Su Yang, sighed, and finally said, our concubine Xian has been having a heated relationship with that young earth sex Su Xiantian recently. You should know Su Xiantian. It seems that you two have some connections. Su Yang was just about to knock on the door when he suddenly heard Li Fixuan calling, and his expression suddenly froze. Li Chunfeng added, Su Yang, I banned concubine Xian for your own good. I don't want you to be, ugh. Li Chunfeng nodded, then smiled, and said, Su Yang, have you practiced well today? The Tongshen pill is the most precious treasure of the Li family. You can't let me down. Su Yang wanted to laugh a little, he was Su Xiantian, poaching his own corner, I was so idle that my balls ached. With this thought in mind, Wang Fugui gritted his teeth and left the riverside villa. Li Family Manor. Li Chunfeng looked at Su Yang, and then said in shock, it's really the later stage. After a brief chat with Li Chunfeng, Su Yang came to Li Fixuan's room alone. Later stage of energy transformation. You want to come with us? Okay, no problem, as long as you don't feel embarrassed. Could it be that I was really cheated on? With that said, Su Yang released a burst of infuriating energy from the late stages of transformation. Li Chunfeng nodded, admiring Su Yang even more, and praised, Su Yang, I didn't expect you to be so broad-minded. Grandpa Li underestimated you, but you should also be careful. Spend more time with concubine Xian, and don't be poached by outsiders. Corner. Grandpa Li, don't worry, I haven't let up. I just broke through the realm today and entered the late stage of Huajin. Damn it. Grandpa Li. I've met Grandpa Li, Su Yang greeted with a smile. Understood, thank you Grandpa Li for reminding me. About 20 minutes later, Su Yang walked in grandly, and the servants of the Li family hurriedly greeted him and asked him to wait in the living room. Cuddle up and sleep together? Who said I would forget you when I have a fiancé? Brother, don't be sad. Just sleep together and let me hold you in my arms. That's, okay. Elder brother? Brother, I won't chat with you anymore. My fiancé will come to take me to eat hot pot soon. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 212. Accurate. This feels so unpleasant. Su Yang stopped knocking and just opened the door and barged in. Ah! Li Feixuan was startled. She breathed a sigh of relief after seeing who it was. She glanced at Su Yang and said, "Su Yang, what's wrong with you? Didn't you know to knock on the door first when you came in?" He. Su Yang had a straight face and said angrily, "Li Feixuan, do you think I ruined your good deeds?" Li Feixuan's face was full of doubts. She frowned and said, "Su Yang, why are you so angry and why are you talking so weirdly? How I speak is my freedom and you have no control over it." Su Yang sneered and said, "Li Feixuan, shouldn't I show up and disturb your romance with your brother?" Li Feixuan's face suddenly turned red, and she gritted her teeth and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? Who am I falling in love with? Ha ha, still pretending." Su Yang hugged his arms and said calmly, "I heard it all. He was calling me brother one after another, and he even hugged her to sleep. Li Feixuan, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. I'm so disappointed." Su Yang. Li Feixuan instantly became angry and looked at Su Yang angrily, but then she thought that the angrier Su Yang was, the more he cared about her. Therefore, Li Feixuan felt better and gritted her teeth and said, "Su Yang, since you have heard everything, I won't hide it from you. I do have a good brother. We often sleep together and talk about everything. I putting my arms around her, she putting her arms around me, we were super close. Li Feixuan, shut up, do you want to make me angry to death?" Su Yang was furious, feeling as if there was a grassland above his head, and said in a cold voice, "Tell me who that guy is, I will never spare him." I'm hungry and I'm going to eat hot pot. If you want to know who she is, just come with me. I'll ask her to meet her at the hot pot restaurant." With that said, concubine Li strode out of the room with a cold face. Su Yang's face didn't look good either. He clenched his fists and followed closely, deciding that he had to kill the guy. "You dare to cheat on me, I really don't want to live anymore." After walking out of the Li family manor, Li Feixuan stood next to Su Yang's car and said coldly, "You idiot, what are you doing standing there in a daze? Open the door for me, you don't have any gentlemanly manners at all." "Good." Su Yang gritted his teeth, opened the car door, and then sat in the driver's seat. "Go to Sichuan Flavor Hot Pot Restaurant," Li Feixuan said unhappily, without even looking at Su Yang. Su Yang snorted coldly, then started the car, deliberately stepped on the accelerator, and drove away. The strong pushing feeling on her back caused Li Feixuan to lean back, with a look of panic on her beautiful face. "Su Yang, it's great to torture your wife for a while, chase her to the crematorium, just wait for me." Li Feixuan glanced at Su Yang and complained through gritted teeth. At the same time, she sent a text message to her brother just now to inform him of the meeting place. It didn't take long. Su Yang and Li Feixuan came to Sichuan Taste. This hot pot restaurant tastes good and is full of customers. However, Su Yang spent a little more money and booked a VIP box. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang and Li Feixuan sat in the box and waited for someone to arrive. During this period, they did not order anything, no one looked at each other, and they were all angry. After waiting for about 10 minutes, a beautiful woman wearing a JK uniform walked into the box. The beauty is probably in her 20s, with an oval face, delicate and beautiful facial features, and white skin. She is tall, about 1.7 meters tall, with two long, slender, and straight legs, wrapped in white stockings, and her JK uniform is extremely tempting. The beauty wore makeup, but it was not heavy makeup, just light makeup. Small crystals were deliberately placed on the corners of her eyes, like tear moles, adding a strange aura. When Li Feixuan saw her, she immediately complained, "Brother, why did you come here?" "Feixuan, I'm sorry, I came as soon as I saw the text message, but there was a traffic jam on the road and it was so slow." The beauty responded with a smile. "All right. Li Feixuan nodded, then glanced at Su Yang, and introduced her calmly. Su Yang, let's get to know each other, she is the brother I call her. Well? Su Yang was stunned for a moment and asked doubtfully, didn't he call me brother? Why is he a woman? Her name is Uge. Uge. Li Feixuan gritted her teeth and said loudly, Uge's you, singing and dancing songs. She and I are college classmates and have a good relationship. The last character of my name is Gege. Is there any problem? Li Feixuan asked. It turns out it's Gege, not my brother. Su Yang smiled bitterly, and after realizing it, he quickly ended the Cold War, ran over and sat next to Li Feixuan, grabbed Li Feixuan's wrist, and said flatteringly, honey, I'm sorry, it's all my fault, I misunderstood you. Haha, you were so tough just now, how could you be wrong? Concubine Li Xian followed Su Yang's example and sneered, hugging her arms. Of course, this was just pretending. In fact, she was not angry in her heart. Because Su Yang cared about her, Li Feixuan could understand that he would become angry after a misunderstanding occurred. But Su Yang didn't believe in himself, so he was so rash and must be punished. Now, Li Feixuan is deliberately making things difficult for Su Yang to make Su Yang lose his memory. Honey, I really realized my mistake. Please forgive me at this moment. Su Yang gently shook Li Feixuan's arm. Li Feixuan looked at Su Yang, snorted coldly and asked, where did you go wrong? Can you tell me? Honey, I didn't ask clearly. I shouldn't lose my temper, let alone question. While Su Yang was explaining, Li Feixuan suddenly covered her ears and said angrily, I won't listen. I won't listen. Su Yang quickly closed his mouth knowingly and sat aside with a wry smile on his face. You men are not good at all. If you make a mistake, you will forcefully explain. There is no sincerity at all. Li Feixuan glanced at Su Yang angrily. Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and said with a wry smile, honey, you asked me to explain. Now you have learned to put the responsibility on me, right? Su Yang, you disappoint me so much. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Li Feixuan gritted her teeth. Okay, whatever you say. Su Yang spread his hands helplessly. Huh, you're impatient now, aren't you? It's really disappointing, Li Feixuan snorted coldly. Wife, you little bastard, Gege is obviously a woman, but you didn't tell me directly, maybe on purpose? Let's see how I punish you. Su Yang didn't explain at all, and hugged Li Feixuan directly. His hands and feet began to be dishonest. Xiao Zhojing, tell me, are you still doing it? Keek, Su Yang, stop touching me. I'll forgive you. No, tell me, will you do it again? If you don't do it, that's impossible. If you make me angry, I'll do it for you. Okay, it seems I started too lightly. I have to be a little heavier. Ahaha, okay, Su Yang, I was wrong, I won't be the head office anymore. That's pretty much it. Finally. After concubine Li surrendered, Su Yang was willing to give up and hugged his wife tightly. Their actions were particularly sweet. Ahem. At this time, the beautiful woman wearing JK uniform next to her coughed twice and said, Feixuan, you asked me to come over, are you planning to close the door and torture the dog? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 213. Hearing J.K. Beauty's words, Li Feixuan was instantly embarrassed, her face flushed, and she pushed Su Yang away. Immediately afterwards, she straightened her clothes, blushed, and laughed softly. Gege, how could it be? Don't you want to eat hot pot with us? Come on, sit down. The JK Beauty smiled, then sat next to Li Feixuan, Her eyes fell on Su Yang, frowning and said, "Fixuan, he is your fiancé, the number one dude in Jiangbei, Su Yang." Yeah, Li Fixuan nodded. Haha, although he is not ugly, he is not very handsome either, and he is also notorious. The JK beauty showed a hint of dissatisfaction, and then said, "Fixuan, how can such a person be worthy of being your fiancé? If I were you, I would not marry him even if I die. It's all arranged by the family. What age is it now? Our country has banned it and arranged marriages have been banned for a long time." The JK beauty encouraged, "Fei Xian, resist. If you don't resist, you will accept an unfair fate. Why should you use the happiness of the rest of your life as a bargaining chip for the family? As long as you are willing, I can arrange for you to leave Jiangbei, go to Jiangnan, or go abroad. The world is so big, there is always a place for you." JK Beauty gave an idea. "Haha, Gag, it's not that exaggerated. Su Yang and I are indeed family arrangements." Li Fixuan smiled, glanced at Su Yang, showed a hint of shyness, and then continued, "But we have been childhood sweethearts and have a relationship. In fact, Su Yang is a pretty good person. Those outside are all rumors and cannot be taken seriously. He's pretty good." Hearing this, the JK beauty said contemptuously, "Fei Xian, don't hide it from me. Although I am from Jiangnan, I went to university in Jiangbei, and I have heard a little bit about the good reputation of young Master Su. How can a person who is a young model in a club all day long, play music every night, and be bitten by female mosquitoes be good?" The disgust in the eyes of JK Beauty was not concealed. "Damn it!" Seeing this, Su Yang felt unhappy. "What the hell, you actually said bad things about me in front of my wife. No, I have to fix you." With this in his mind, Su Yang's eyes fell on JK Beauty, and then he had an idea. "Smelly man, what are you looking at?" The JK Beauty noticed Su Yang staring at her and said coldly. "Haha, Miss Uge, right? You said so many bad things about me, but for concubine Xian's sake, I won't argue with you." Su Yang showed a smile and said lightly, "But it won't happen next time. There are some words I don't like to hear." While speaking, Su Yang released a trace of power, his eyes like daggers, sweeping over the entire audience. Ah! The JK Beauty had never seen this battle before. She was instantly frightened, her face turned pale, and she couldn't help but take half a step back. And she lowered her head in a hurry, not daring to look into Su Yang's eyes, and was full of fear of Su Yang. "Song song." At this time, Li Fixuan asked curiously, "What's wrong with you? You look so bad." "No. Nothing." The JK Beauty first responded to Li Fixuan, then came back to her senses. "Damn it, Su Yang is just a playboy, how could I be frightened by him? I was sloppy just now, this situation must be recovered, and we must not be at a disadvantage. Su Yang, who are you trying to scare?" "I'm not afraid of you, I've practiced before," JK Beauty said fiercely. He. Su Yang smiled and said nothing. He just glanced at JK Beauty with disdain and then looked away. He did not regard her as an opponent at all, and his eyes were full of disdain. "You." This made the JK Beauty furious, feeling that she had been slighted, and stared at Su Yang with gritted teeth. However, this did not get any response from Su Yang, so she did not continue the topic, but said coldly, "Young Master Su is really fussy. Didn't I just tell the truth? Why don't you scare me? Haha, Miss Yu has practiced, and she won't be scared by me." Su Yang then smiled and said, "On the contrary, I am very scared now. I wonder if Miss Yu will teach me a lesson later when no one is around. I'm not that boring." The JK Beauty glanced at Su Yang coldly, not wanting to continue the topic, so she sneered, "Young Master Su, after doing this for a long time, you don't even know my last name. Who told me that my last name is Yu? Your name is Yu Ge. If your surname is not Yu, how can you still be named Ge? Su Yang said with a smile. Su Yang. At this moment, Li Feixuan next to her said, Ge's surname is not Yu. Her surname is Zhang and her first name is Yu Ge. Your surname is Zhang? Su Yang paused, then said with a strange expression, Zhang, Yu Ge. Zhang Yuge. Do you know SpongeBob and Patrick? Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 214. Zhang Yuge. Do you know SpongeBob and Patrick? Hearing Su Yang's question, the JK Beauty's face instantly darkened, and she gritted her teeth and said, Young Master Su, don't call me Brother Squidward. Haha, Yu Ge, what a good name, it makes you look literate as soon as you hear it. Su Yang continued to tease, shook his head and smiled, what a pity, your surname is Zhang. You still said that. Zhang Yuge gritted his teeth and said angrily, Fei Xian, just take care of it, don't let him say anything. Li Feixuan first comforted Zhang Yuge, then looked at Su Yang and advised, okay Su Yang, don't be angry with Gag. She doesn't understand you, so she has a bad attitude towards you. Think about it from another angle, she is also targeting you for my own good, concubine Li said with a smile. Su Yang thought about it carefully and realized that it was true, so he stopped teasing Zhang Yuge. Next, the three of them started ordering and enjoying the steaming hot pot. After finishing their meal, the group walked out of Sichuan Flavor Hot Pot restaurant. Su Yang, please go back first. Gag and I plan to find King Day and then go shopping together at this time, Li Feixuan said. Okay. Su Yang smiled, then looked at Li Feixuan, and whispered, honey, can you go to the Riverside Villa tonight? I will prepare a candlelight dinner for you, and we can have a good time together. World of Two People. When concubine Li heard this, she didn't know what she thought of. Her face turned red and she nodded shyly, okay. Immediately afterwards, she turned around in a hurry and left with Zhang Yuge. Fei Xian, young Master Su is obviously not well intentioned. What about a candlelight dinner? This is a hangmen banquet. He wants, well, you know. I know. Then why did you agree to him? I am his fiancé and we are engaged. We will get married sooner or later. He has brought it up more than once. It doesn't make any sense if I keep refusing. The point is, if I refuse him, he will find another woman. Why should I push my man into the arms of other women? Fei Xian, what are you thinking? It's incredible. How can you do that kind of thing without getting married? Also, you have to be strong. If he dares to find a bad woman, you just break up with him and break off the engagement. This won't work. Men are like sand in their hands. The tighter they are, the less they get. If you want to get more, you have to master the methods. Oh my God, concubine Xian, this is the first time I heard you talk about your views on love. It's really unbelievable. Do you know how strong women are nowadays? They make men kneel on the keyboard, hand over all their wages, and leave the housework to men. This is the role model for us women. Hey, you listen to me, from now on you. Su Yang watched Li Feixuan and Zhang Yuge drift away, vaguely heard their conversation, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and his affection for Li Feixuan grew day by day. Li Feixuan is a woman who neither fights nor grabs, knows how to advance and retreat, and is extremely generous. This kind of wife is hard to find even with a lantern. Zhang Yuge, on the other hand, this woman is too bad. No, I must avoid letting concubine Xian come into contact with her in the future, so as not to learn bad things. Su Yang muttered softly, then opened the car door, got in, and planned to return to the Riverside Villa. Owner. But at this moment, an ethereal girl's voice suddenly came from Su Yang's mind. Immediately afterwards, a teddy dog appeared next to the car, wagging its tail and saying pitifully, "Master, I miss you so much. You don't want me anymore, do you?" Shifen. Su Yang smiled. He had seen Shifen in Li Feixuan's room before, but at that time Su Yang thought he had been cheated on and was in a bad mood, so he didn't think too much about it. "Shifen, why don't I want you? You are my elite." Su Yang smiled softly and said, "Did you run here from the Li family manor yourself?" "Yes, master, don't worry, I was very careful not to disturb others," Shifen responded obediently. "That's good." Su Yang nodded, and then said, "In the past 2 days, I have obtained some master's blood essence for you. You can enter the storage ring, refine the blood essence, improve your strength, and then go to protect concubine Xian." Essence and blood. When Shifen heard this, her eyes suddenly lit up and she said excitedly, "Yeah, I knew the master wouldn't forget me. Ha ha." Su Yang showed a smile, and then with a thought, he put Shifen into the storage ring. "Wow, what a powerful blood essence. Thank you, master. Swallow the heavenly spiritual beast technique for me." After Shifen thanked Su Yang, she immediately used the skills Su Yang taught her and entered a state of cultivation. This little guy is eager for quick success. After seeing Guo Yi off, Su Yang was about to call Li Feixuan, but at this time, Dong Wenzheng suddenly called. "Now." After the call was connected, Dong Wenzheng on the other side was like offering a treasure and said excitedly, "Master, I successfully got the 5,000-year-old snow lotus. I have got off the plane and am on my way to the riverside villa. Also, master, tell me good news for you, I got 100, Su Yang smiled softly, then started the car and quickly returned to the riverside villa. "Well, you did a great job." Su Yang nodded, and then asked lightly, "How is the thing I asked you to do?" "Thank you, young master." Su Yang's eyes flashed, and he realized that Dong Wenzheng had encountered an accident, and his eyes were instantly filled with murderous intent. Su Yang closed his eyes and searched for a moment with his spiritual consciousness. Then he used so far an end of the world, and the figure instantly disappeared on the spot. Then, pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger can often have unexpected results. Ito, who was close to the realm of the Earth sect in Country D, has also been executed. He will probably not send any more masters in a short time. Now, Su Yang's only opponent is the big shot of the ancient martial arts sect hidden behind him. Of course, Su Yang did not forget the agreement with Li Feixuan and arranged for Guo Yi to prepare a candlelight dinner in advance, asking him to invite the most famous chef in Jiangbei to the villa to cook a sumptuous dinner. But no matter what, this person must die. Dad said that that man was a young master, and he didn't know why he insisted on destroying the Su family. After returning home, Su Yang began to sort out the memories in his mind and review the memories of alchemy, weapon refining, formations, exercises, secret techniques, etc. Maybe he would be able to use them soon. The Nalan family has been eliminated. Guo Yi said with a smile. As for the chef, I have asked him to leave. Now there are only 2 of us in the villa. Young master, I will not disturb you and the young madam. I will leave first. Reporting to the young master, dinner is ready and the scene has been set. Young master. At this time, Guo Yi greeted respectfully. He and Dong Wenzheng signed a master-servant contract, and they could sense each other's position within a certain range. Not good. Su Yang nodded, then injected a spiritual energy into Guo Yi's body, and said calmly, refining it, "You can reach the middle stage of Grand Master." Su Yang frowned slightly and turned to swipe to answer. It took me a few hours to sort it out. But the enemy was hiding, so Su Yang naturally couldn't act rashly and needed to hide his strength. Time flies and night falls. Now, Su Yang has stepped into the 6th level of Qi training and has the ability to help the master improve his realm. As Dong Wenzheng was talking, he suddenly let out a scream, and then the phone was hung up. Guo Yi was overjoyed, knelt down on one knee, clasped his hands in his fists, thanked him respectfully, and left the riverside villa. Then, he walked down the 3rd floor and came to the living room. Su Yang, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed, slowly opened his eyes with a smile on his lips. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 215. At this moment. Jiangbei Outer Ring, Asphalt Highway. A black Land Rover overturned on the side of the road, the front glass was broken and the warning lights were flashing. The driver of this car is Dong Wenzheng. Today, Dong Wenzheng, under the leadership of the Great Elder, met Duan Sihai, the leader of Wuying sect. After Duan Sihai learned that Dong Wenzheng had killed Su Xiantian, he kept his promise and directly gave the 5,000-year-old Snow Lotus to Dong Wenzheng, and also rewarded Dong Wenzheng with some healing medicine and martial arts secrets. The Great Elder kept his word and gave Dong Wenzheng a wooden box containing 100 energy stones. After getting these things, Dong Wenzheng said goodbye to the Elder, then took the wooden box and Snow Lotus and got on the plane. Not long ago, he successfully arrived in Jiangbei, drove his Land Rover parked outside the airport, and went straight to the Riverside Villa, hoping to dedicate the energy stones and Snow Lotus to the owner as soon as possible. But just when he and Su Yang were on the phone to report the good news, a blast of true energy suddenly struck and shattered the car's front windshield. Dong Wenzheng subconsciously twisted the steering wheel and slammed on the brakes, causing the car to overturn. Broken glass hit his face, coupled with the violent impact, so that Dong Wenzheng suffered a head injury and bleeding, his consciousness was somewhat blurred, and he was trapped in the car. Hiss. At this time, Dong Wenzheng covered his head, let out a cry of pain, and then struggled to get out of the driver's seat. Hee. Suddenly, a figure appeared next to the car, bent down, reached into the car with one hand, and dragged Dong Wenzheng out. Dong Wenzheng shook his head, trying to stay awake, and looked up at the person dragging him. This person is an old woman, with a face full of wrinkles and a big mole at the corner of her mouth. Her age is unknown, but she must be at least 80 years old. The old woman was leaning on a cane, trembling and looking very weak, as if a gust of wind could blow her down. But she was exuding terrifying Genkai fluctuations, which made people palpitate. Dong Wenzheng couldn't even think of resisting in front of this old woman. He was so frightened that he trembled and kept swallowing his saliva. It was this old woman who just broke the car glass and stopped Dong Wenzheng. 2. Second Elder. After looking carefully, Dong Wenzheng recognized the old woman, and his expression suddenly changed. This person is none other than the second elder of Wuying sect, Qin Xianglian, an ancient warrior in the late stage of Earth sect. Yes, it's me. The second elder, Qin Xianglian, stood aside with a cane and a hunched body. A playful smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Master Dong, why did you leave Wuying sect in such a hurry without saying goodbye to me? Second elder. Dong Wenzheng swallowed in fear and apologized. It was the villain's negligence. The second elder is magnanimous. Please don't argue with the villain. Hee. Qin Xianglian smiled, and then said in a deep voice, Okay, Master Dong, stop saying these high-sounding words and take out the 5,000-year-old Snow Lotus. This. Dong Wenzheng smiled bitterly, his thoughts racing in his mind, and then said, Second Elder, when I went to Wuying sect this time, I did offer Susua Nation's head and received the Snow Lotus as a reward from the sect master. But the Great Elder told me before that he wanted the Snow Lotus. How dare I refuse, so I agreed to it. Dong Wenzheng said in embarrassment, the Great Elder asked me to take Swilian back to Jiangbei first. He will come back to Jiangbei in 3 to 5 days to pick it up. Second Elder, I can't give you the Snow Lotus, otherwise I won't be able to report to the first elder. Dong Wenzheng moved out of the first elder, hoping to calm the second elder. He. Qin Xianglian left a word, then her eyes sternly moved, and she quickly pushed out her palm. Master Dong, please leave Sulian in the car. I will get it myself later. But at this moment, a water dragon formed by huge energy suddenly shot from the 7 o'clock direction. Roar! At this time, Qin Xianglian looked at Dong Wenzheng, with a ball of true energy condensing in her palm, and a murderous intent in her eyes. She sneered, "Before I reach the peak of the Earth sect, this matter cannot be leaked. Master Dong, please suffer death. It will make you happy." Boom. Second elder, no, I can keep the secret and keep it secret. Su Yang had a sullen face and walked out of the darkness step by step, exuding a cold aura. The straight line distance between this place and the riverside villa is about 2 kilometers. Su Yang nodded, then his eyes fell on Qin Xianglian, a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. In an instant, the Genkai in her palm was released and she directly attacked and killed Dong Wenzheng. "Here, get out of here." At this time, a cold voice suddenly sounded from all around, "You want to kill my slave, have you asked me for my opinion?" Qin Xianglian stared at Dong Wenzheng and sneered, "I have already guessed the agreement between you and the first elder, otherwise Su Shanju would not have come forward to scare those who had Sulian's ideas." When Dong Wenzheng heard this, his expression suddenly became complicated, and his face was very ugly. Immediately afterwards, the big stone in Dong Wenzhen's heart fell, but he still reminded, "Master, you have to be careful. She is Qin Xianglian, the second elder of Wuying section. She is in the late Earth section. Her strength ranks among the top 3 in Wuying sect, except for the great elder and the sect leader. She is the strongest." Dong Wenzheng panicked and said quickly, "Also, second elder, I am familiar with the city. I can arrange everything for you when you come to the city in the future." Owner. Well, I understand. Seeing Su Yang, Dong Wenzheng was overjoyed, as if he had grasped the last straw. He felt more at ease and said gratefully, "Thank you, Master, for saving your life." "Haha, no need. Supporting a family is just convenient for me. Besides, only dead people can make me feel at ease." Su Yang glanced at Dong Wenzheng and said calmly, "You have done a good job. I should save you. Let me deal with this old guy. You can rest peacefully." A flash of greed flashed in Qin Xianglian's eyes, and she said calmly, "After I eat the snow lotus, I will reach the peak of the Earth sect in less than 3 months. By then, the position of the great elder may have to be replaced, haha." After Su Yang learned that Dong Wenzheng was in danger, he used 100 consecutive close calls, so he arrived so quickly. Qin Xianglian steadied herself and growled angrily. However, the disciples, elders and deacons of Wuying sect are afraid of him, but I, Qin Xianglian, am not afraid of him. Qin Xianglian frowned, her eyes full of surprise, and then she didn't dare to be careless at all, and hurriedly resisted, and finally took half a step back, but also defeated the water dragon. The next moment, the water dragon dispersed Qin Xianglian's infuriating energy, and even the water dragon's power was not reduced, and it went straight towards Qin Xianglian. "Who's taking action?" "Yes." Seeing this, Dong Wenzheng took a deep breath, his heart was extremely frightened, and his pupils quickly contracted. But with his strength, there was no chance to fight back, and he was immediately desperate. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 216. Now that Su Yang has entered the 6th level of Qi training, he is not afraid of this realm in the late Earth sect. At this time, Su Yang stared at Qin Xianglian, the corner of his mouth raised and said, You shadowless sect are so funny. You send them to your door one by one for me to kill, haha. Snored. Rubber words. Qin Xianglian met Su Yang's gaze and asked, "Boy, who are you?" "I am Su Xiantian," Su Yang responded lightly. Su Xiantian. Qin Xianglian frowned and said, "Don't lie to me. I have seen Su Suanation's photos. You are not Su Xiantian at all. Who are you?" When Su Yang came, he was not disguised as Su Xiantian. At this time, he smiled and said, "There is no need to tell you who I am, because you will die in my hands." Shameless talk. Qin Xianglian leaned on a walking stick and sneered disdainfully, "Boy, I admit that you are not weak. You can take the attack I just made and you can even fight back. But you have to know that I just hit him casually." "Haha, what a coincidence, so am I," Su Yang smiled. "Humph, arrogant, in that case, I will let you know that there is a sky outside the sky, and there are people outside the world." Qin Xianglian snorted coldly, then held a walking stick and charged towards Su Yang. Su Yang squinted his eyes slightly, mobilized the spiritual energy all over his body, and used the close proximity to attack and defend. What? What a speed! Qin Xianglian was taken aback, her yellow eyes flashed with horror, but she quickly reacted and took action to resist. After all, they were in the late stage of Earth sect, and their strength should not be underestimated, so they naturally took over Su Yang's attack. Boom! 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 Immediately afterwards, Su Yang did not stop and attacked one after another, his figure changing and flickering. Qin Xianglian was so shocked that she could only defend passively and had no chance to fight back. In this way, the two of them soon played dozens of rounds. Su Yang caught the flaw, concentrated the water dragon technique, and quickly killed Qin Xianglian. Not good. Qin Xianglian took a deep breath, hurriedly put the crutch across her chest, and resisted with all her strength. Boom! Along with a muffled sound, Qin Xianglian's body was hit 5 meters away by the water dragon. Puff! After stabilizing her body, Qin Xianglian spurted a mouthful of blood from the corner of her mouth and broke the crutch in her hand. On the other hand, Su Yang stood there looking very powerful, with a playful smile on his lips, looking very relaxed. The late Earth sect, that's all. Su Yang smiled softly. Certainly. This was a bit exaggerated, and it was difficult for him to deal with Qin Xianglian. "Young man, who are you?" Qin Xianglian asked through gritted teeth. "I said, I am Su Xiantian." Su Yang took a step forward and said calmly, "Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter anymore." As the words fell, Su Yang's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and the water dragon in his palm gradually took shape. Su Xiantian. Isn't he already dead? The head of the Dong family. Qin Xianglian suddenly remembered the first words Su Yang said when he came here, and immediately reacted and murmured, "Dong Wenzheng has taken refuge with you a long time ago. Is he your slave?" "Not bad." Su Yang smiled and nodded. So, the Susuanation's head he presented was a fake, and the purpose was to defraud the 5,000-year-old Snow Lotus. "Haha, you are very smart, that's right." Su Yang did not deny it. "Humph, Su Xiantian, you are so brave." Qin Xianglian threatened in a cold voice, "You dare to deceive the leader of the Wuying sect, aren't you afraid of the Wuying sect's revenge?" "Haha, I have killed several elders of Wuying section. I am determined to fight to the death. Why should I worry about this?" Su Yang raised his eyebrows and sneered. "What?" Qin Xianglian couldn't help but ask. "Fourth elder Lu Yongxia came to Jiangbei 2 days ago. Has he been poisoned by you?" "Not only the fourth elder, but your third elder was also killed by me." Su Yang's eyes flashed and he said calmly, "Now, it's your turn." "Su Xiantian, give me a chance, don't kill me, I am willing to work for you." Seeing this, Qin Xianglian knew that she was no match for Su Yang and hurriedly knelt down to beg for mercy. However, there was a hint of viciousness in her eyes, and she had already planned in her heart to deal with Su Yang first, and when she returned to Wu Ying sect, she would immediately report to the sect leader and come to kill Su Yang. Ken. Su Yang has been cultivating for 100,000 years and has read countless people. How could he hide this little idea from him? Boom. Therefore, without saying a word, Su Yang threw the water dragon in his hand and killed Qin Xianglian. Well. Qin Xianglian's face was filled with astonishment. She didn't expect Su Yang to act so decisively, and she fell straight down, dying. Serve me, haha, are you worthy? Su Yang sneered repeatedly, his eyes full of disdain, and then with a wave of his hand, he put Qin Xianglian's body into the storage ring. Wow, master, you are so good to me. This person's blood essence is so strong. In the storage ring, Shifen was practicing. When she noticed the sudden extra body, she immediately opened her eyes and jumped up excitedly. Well, let's refine it and see what realm you can reach. Su Yang smiled softly. Yes, thank you master for the reward. Shifen responded respectfully and then said with a smile, Master, I have some good news for you. I can sense that after the foundation is established, I can transform into a human form. Build the foundation and transform. Su Yang paused and couldn't help but said, doesn't it take a monster to transform into a god? I don't know the details, but I really have a feeling that you can transform into one by building a foundation, Shifen said seriously. Well, I probably know. Su Yang thought for a while, then smiled softly and said, the laws of the Earth's Great Avenue are different from those in the Xiantian Immortal Domain. The oppression of the Great Avenue here is much weaker than that in the Xiantian Immortal Domain. Normally, cultivators can fly in the air only when they are in the realm of forming a core, but the distance won't be too far, but I have a feeling that I can fly once I set foot on the foundation. Su Yang continued, to put it simply, if one punch can break a stone in Xiantian Immortal Realm, then on Earth, the same punch is so powerful that it can blast away mountains. The Earth's spiritual energy is thin, and the laws are relatively weak, so that the constraints on cultivators are countless times smaller. Su Yang smiled and said, you can transform into a human form by building a foundation. If you think about it carefully, it makes sense. Yeah. Shifen nodded as if she understood, and then said shyly, Master, do you expect to see me transform into a human form? Haha, look forward to it. Su Yang smiled casually. I'm really looking forward to it. If I turn into a human form, it will be easier for me to serve my master, Shifen said shyly. Well. Su Yang paused. Serve? This is a bit ambiguous. Su Yang quickly retracted his mind and stopped communicating with Shifen. His eyes fell on Dong Wenzheng. Owner. At this time, Dong Wenzheng was filled with surprises and said with admiration, I didn't expect that your strength is so strong. Even the second elder of the late Earth sect is no match for you. Incredible. Dong Wenzheng never expected that his master's fighting power would be so terrifying. At the same time, he became more determined to follow Su Yang, and even felt that this was the most correct decision he had ever made. Immediately afterwards, Dong Wenzheng supported his seriously injured body, took out a wooden box from the car, half knelt on the ground, and said respectfully, Master, this is a 5,000-year-old snow lotus. In addition, I have also found 100 energy stones for you. Master, please take a look. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 217. Snow Lotus. Energy Stone. When Su Yang heard this, a smile appeared on his lips, and he moved his eyes to look at the wooden box. I saw a pile of energy stones placed in the wooden box. On the top layer, there was a 40-centimeter long wooden box, which exuded spiritual energy fluctuations. Su Yang stepped forward and took the wooden box in his hand. After opening it, he saw a snow-white flower lying in the box. It was a snow lotus. He was suddenly surprised. This snow lotus is really 5,000 years old, and it's so well preserved. Su Yang directly put the storage ring away, planning to take some time to refine the snow lotus into elixirs. By then, he can set foot on the 7th level of Qi training. After getting excited, Su Yang looked at Dong Wensheng and said with satisfaction, "Dong Wen, you have done me a great favor. I must reward you well." The words fell. Su Yang injected 2 energies into Dong Wensheng's body. Dong Wensheng only suffered superficial injuries, and one of the energies directly healed his injuries. As for the second energy, it is used to break through the realm. After you go back and refine the energy in your body, you should be able to reach the middle stage of Grand Master. Su Yang smiled and said, consider it your reward for taking the risk to retrieve the snow lotus." "Thank you, Master." Dong Wensheng felt the changes in his body and was immediately surprised. After realizing it, he hurriedly expressed his loyalty, "In the future, I will do my best to share my master's worries." Su Yang smiled, then turned his gaze to the wooden box and asked curiously, "Dong Wensheng, how did you get these 100 energy stones?" "Report to the master, this is the great elder's reward." Dong Wensheng did not dare to hide anything and said truthfully, "After the young one arrived at Wuying sect, he first met the great elder." Immediately afterwards, Dong Wensheng told Su Yang everything that had happened to the shadowless sect. "Haha, this great elder has helped you invisibly." Su Yang showed a smile, then narrowed his eyes slightly and said, "Energy stones are not something that is found on the street. Jimin Black Market only raised 200 of them for me. And this great elder, you asked him for 3 pills, and he actually gave you 100 pills. It's unreasonable." Su Yang asked doubtfully, "Dong Wensheng, what's going on with the great elder? He's so generous. His family owns a mine." "Owner?" Dong Wensheng smiled and said, "You are right, great elder, he really has a mine." There is a mine at home." Su Yang just made a joke casually, but he didn't expect it to come true. "Master, that's it?" Dong Wensheng hurriedly explained, "The great elder accidentally let it slip. A few days ago, he discovered an energy stone mine in a large mountain in the south of the Yangtze River. These 100 energy stones came from that mine. He also told me that he could have as many energy stones as he wanted." "What?" Su Yang's heart trembled. It was the first time since his rebirth that he was so excited. "Energy stone mine, that's spiritual veins. Spirit stones are an important resource in the world of cultivation. Therefore, spiritual veins have become something that cultivators flock to. Every time a spiritual vein comes out, it will cause a bloody storm. I didn't expect that the Earth's spiritual energy would be so thin that spiritual veins would exist. God help me. However, you still have to be steady. The more this happens, the less impatient it is." Dong Wensheng. Su Yang calmed down and asked calmly, "What state is this great elder in?" "The peak of Earth section," Dong Wensheng said respectfully. "The pinnacle?" Su Yang frowned. He had already reached the 6th level of Qi training. If he performed the blood sacrifice and combined with the underpants talisman he had refined before, there was a certain chance that he could obliterate the peak of the Earth sect. But the risk factor is too high to take this risk. If you can step onto the 7th level of Qi training and face the great elder, there will be no problem. With this thought in his mind, Su Yang's eyes fell on the snow lotus and he pondered for a moment. Then, Su Yang looked at Dong Wensheng and asked, "Dong Wensheng, can you contact the great elder?" "Can." Dong Wensheng nodded, then said respectfully, "Master, what are your orders?" "I want you to contact the great elder and ask him to bring all the energy stones to Jiangbei, just say." Su Yang paused, then smiled, and said, the great elder discovered the energy stone mine, but he didn't mind too much. He probably thought it was difficult to sell it and couldn't exchange it for money. Just tell him that you have found a market and ask him to bring the energy stones and come to Jiangbei to sell them. He will definitely come over. Su Yang narrowed his eyes slightly and sneered, when he comes, I will snatch away the energy stone and force him to find out the whereabouts of the energy stone mine. Yes. This time, Dong Wenzheng did not question Su Yang's strength, but asked, Master, energy stones are worth a lot of money. If there is a market, an energy stone will cost at least 3 to 5 million. The great elder should have a lot of energy in his hands stone, the purchase price will be astonishing. If he asked who the buyer was, how should I answer without arousing his suspicion? Su Yang smiled and said, I can remove this kind of toxin with a little effort using my spiritual energy. It won't affect me much. Now that I have the snow lotus, I won't miss it. This is simple. Okay, let's calculate the time. As soon as I arrived in Jiangbei, I immediately said that I had found a buyer first. It was not suitable. Master, I will contact the great elder early tomorrow morning and lure him to Jiangbei. He took out the 5,000-year-old snow lotus, looked at it carefully, and murmured, the 7th level of qi refining depends on it, huh. He had consumed a lot of spiritual energy just now, so he didn't use close to the end again. Then, why did the leader of Wu-Ying sect make such a big plan to reward the person who killed Su Xiantian with snow lotus? Besides, the second elder tried to snatch away the snow lotus just now. This is obviously not a conspiracy of the Wu-Ying section. Thank you, Master. He is the leader of Wu-Ying sect, Duan Sihai. Su Yang frowned and quickly denied the guess. He shook his head and said, snow lotus that is 5,000 years old is very precious. Even if the great elder sees through Dong Wenzheng, he will not be willing to take such a big trick and poison me with snow lotus. Watching Dong Wenzheng walk away, Su Yang put the wooden box containing the energy stones into the storage ring. Suddenly, on the top of the mountain, a middle-aged man wearing a robe stood with his hands behind his back. This incident is very strange. In their eyes, Su Xiantian is only a half-step earth section. Su Nation's head is not worthy of the snow lotus. Forget it, it's none of my business what I want to do. Subsequently, Su Yang nodded, then smiled, and said, follow me and do well, and I will ensure that you will grow to a terrifying level within a year. Su Yang murmured, the snow lotus was brought out by the leader of Wu-Ying sect to reward those who killed Su Xiantian. Ziun Mountain, Shadowless sect. Su Yang guessed, is it possible that the leader of Wu-Ying sect wants to use snow lotus to poison the great elder? Excluding the great elder, who else would poison him? No matter the 4th elder or the 3rd elder, they are not qualified to compete with the great elder for the snow lotus. Even if they get it, they will probably fall into the hands of the great elder in the end. Because now, in his eyes, the master is invincible and never does anything he is unsure of. However, concubine Xian should be at the villa now. It's more important to have a candlelight dinner. Su Yang smiled lightly and said, just tell the great elder that Jimin Black Market plans to purchase a large amount of energy stones. The transaction location is at Jimin Black Market. I will say hello to the people from Jimin Black Market in advance. Thinking of this, Su Yang put the snow lotus into the storage ring and then disappeared. Dong Wenzheng responded with awe, not worrying at all whether his master could deal with the great elder. According to what Dong Wenzheng said, apart from the sect leader, the most powerful person in Wu-Ying sect is the great elder. Interesting, who would poison the snow lotus? Could it be that Dong Wenzheng was exposed and the great elder wanted to kill me? This poison was obviously put in deliberately by someone, and the technique was so clever that ordinary people couldn't detect it, but they couldn't hide it from Su Yang. Su Yang noticed something was wrong with the snow lotus. After examining it again, he discovered that the snow lotus contained a highly toxic substance. Well, Okay, you can go back first. Dong Wenzhung clasped his fists and bent down, thanked him gratefully, and then disappeared into the night. At this moment, Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 218. The Shadowless sect occupies Ziun Mountain. Since it is a newly rising force, its influence among the many ancient martial arts sects is relatively weak. Although he often boasts that he belongs to a medium-sized sect, in fact, it can only be regarded as a small sect with few disciples and not many masters in the sect. But the reason why Wuying sect can gain a firm foothold in the ancient martial arts world is entirely due to its leader Duan Sihai. Duan Sihai is an astonishingly talented man who is less than 60 years old. In recent years, he has become famous in the ancient martial arts world. 20 years ago, he started a sect and established the Shadowless sect in Ziun Mountain. In the past 20 years, he has attracted experts and recruited disciples, and the Shadowless sect has gradually improved. It is no exaggeration to say that the Shadowless sect is solely supported by Duan Sihai, otherwise it would have been annexed by other sects long ago. As for Duan Sihai's strength, he has not made a move for a long time and can only be described as unfathomable. It is said that Duan Sihai once stayed in the place of Feng Chan, and it seems to have some connection with the place of Feng Chan. It is also because of this that many ancient martial arts sects do not want to provoke the Shadowless sect. All in all, Duan Sihai is the heaven of Wuying sect, superior to everyone. At this time, he was standing on the top of the mountain, looking far away. There was no trace of Genkai fluctuations on his body, just like an ordinary person. Metropolitan. Suddenly, a Shadowless sect disciple came forward, knelt down on one knee, and said respectfully, Dong Wenzhung has taken Suilian and left the Shadowless section. Well, I understand, you can go down. Duan Sihai waved his hand and said in a calm tone. Yes. The disciple responded respectfully, then bent down and stepped back 4 or 5 meters. After being far away from Duan Sihai, he dared to straighten up and strode away from the top of the mountain. Sensing that this disciple was leaving, Duan Sihai narrowed his eyes slightly and revealed a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Su Shanju, with your character, you will definitely not let go of the snow lotus. If nothing happens, the snow lotus will definitely fall into your hands. And in the snow lotus, I have incorporated the poison I concocted myself, and you will never notice it. This poison is so poisonous that you will die if you touch it, let alone swallow it, he he he. Duan Sihai laughed at first, then became as calm as water, and said coldly, Great Elder, don't blame me. If you want to blame, blame yourself. There are some things that don't belong to you. After you get them, just hand them over obediently. Why? Hiding is not seeking death. Su Yang's guess was correct. Duan Sihai, the leader of Wuying sect, deliberately hid poison in the snow lotus in order to kill the great elder Su Shanju. Because a few days ago, Su Shan lived in a large mountain in the south of the Yangtze River. He not only discovered an energy stone mine, but also obtained a treasure. This matter was known to the Zen land. They were not interested in the energy stone, but they paid special attention to the treasure. So, Feng Chan Land sent people to find Duan Sihai, told Duan Sihai about the matter, and ordered Duan Sihai to cooperate with Feng Chan Land to get the treasure. Duan Sihai was extremely talented and once practiced in the Feng Chan Land. Later, he was kicked out of the Feng Chan Land because of certain things. Therefore, he could only obey the orders of the Fengzhen Land and did not dare to say a word no. Duan Sihai originally planned to use force to suppress the Great Elder and regain the treasure, but it was rejected by the people sent from the Feng Chan Land. Because the treasure in the hands of the Great Elder is too important, and it can improve the strength in a short period of time, it cannot be used to scare the snake, nor can it be demanded by force, lest the Great Elder breaks the jar and destroys the treasure, then the gain outweighs the loss. At this time, Susua Nation's killing of the elders of the Wuying sect in Jiangbei caused a huge uproar. When Duan Sihai saw this, he hatched a plan and took out a 5,000-year-old snow lotus, intending to trap and kill the great elder. In Wuying sect, apart from him, the sect leader, the great elder is the strongest and controls the real power. One person is truly inferior to 10,000 people. Therefore, Duan Sihai can be sure that the snow lotus will definitely fall into the hands of the great elder. The great elder is bound to win against snow lotus, because snow lotus can prolong life, which is what the great elder needs. It's a pity that a 5,000-year-old snow lotus was wasted. This is the treasure medicine given to me by the place of Zen at this moment. Duan Sihai felt a little regretful. Sect Master Duan. Suddenly, a cold voice suddenly sounded in the dark night. Immediately afterwards, a young man wearing a blue gown suddenly appeared and stood behind Duan Sihai. The young man has long flowing hair, is dressed in ancient costume, has a handsome and three-dimensional face, and a tall, aquiline nose that is extremely prominent. At this moment, with a faint smile on his face, he said, "It's just a 5,000-year-old snow lotus. What's the pity? I promise you that after it's done, I'll apply to the Zen place and give you a more generous reward." Master Shi. Duan Sihai reacted, turned around quickly, clasped his fists and said with a smile, "Haha, in this case, thank you Mr. Shi." The young man wearing a green shirt, whose surname is Shi, is called Shi Xian, and he comes from Mount Tai, the place where Zen is enshrined. Sect Master Duan is too polite. Shi Xian smiled, and then asked, "How are things going?" "Don't worry, Mr. Shi. I have made arrangements. Su Shanju will be poisoned and die in a few days." Duan Sihai smiled softly and said, "After he dies, I will personally search his residence and I will definitely find the treasure." "Well, okay, I'm relieved." Shi Xian nodded with satisfaction. Master Shi. Duan Sihai was a little confused and asked curiously, what did Su Shanju get that actually aroused the interest of the place of Zen? Sect Master Duan. When Shi Xian heard this, his face instantly turned cold, and he said sternly, "About this matter, you'd better not ask more questions. Knowing too much will not do you any good." Also, after Su Shanju died, he informed me immediately and left the search for the treasure to me, so Sect Master Duan doesn't have to worry about it. Yes. When Duan Sihai heard this, he didn't dare to question it at all and hurriedly responded with cupped fists. Although the young man in front of him is not as strong as himself, he comes from the land of Zen and has a noble status, so he cannot afford to offend him. Shi Xian nodded and warned, "Remember, don't let any news about this matter leak, otherwise I will question you." Clear. There's one more thing I wanted to ask you. At this time, Shi Xian's eyes fell on Duan Sihai, frowned and said, "Your Shadowla sect elder, Ji Yiping, died in Jiangbei." Duan Sihai did not hide anything and said truthfully, "A few days ago, Ji Yiping suddenly went to Jiangbei to kill the head of the Su family in Jiangbei, but he was killed by a young earth sect named Su Xiantian. Ji Yiping has never been to Jiangbei, and he has no grudge against the Su family in Jiangbei. This time, I don't know who ordered him to kill the head of the Su family, so that he lost his life in vain." Duan Sihai sighed and shook his head. However, Shi Xian, the young man in green shirt next to him, showed a smile and said lightly, "Haha, I asked him to go." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 219. I let him go. When Duan Sihai heard this, a look of suspicion suddenly appeared on his face, and he said in confusion, "Master Shi, Jiangbei is just a small place, and the Su family is even more insignificant. Do you have a grudge against the Su family?" Shi Xian did not deny it, and said calmly, there is indeed hatred, and it is a deep hatred. Some time ago, I went to Jiangbei and planned to destroy the Jiangbei Su family. Shi Xian raised the corner of his mouth and said, however, it didn't succeed. Instead, I was seriously injured. Master Shi, although you are not old, you have already set foot in the earth section. Duan Sihai asked in confusion, is there anyone in the Jiangbei Su family who is your opponent? Have. Shi Xian smiled and said, the old head of the Su family, Su Qincan, is not weak in strength. He is at the same level as me. He beat me seriously and injured me. However, he is not much better. He is also injured. In addition, he is quite old. He may not be able to return to his peak in this life. Shi Xian continued, but I have recovered now with the help of the holy healing medicine from the place of Zen. But these days, I have been investigating the treasures in the mountains south of the Yangtze River. I couldn't get away, so I asked Ji Ping to go to the north of the Yangtze River for me and kill the Su Shenbing of the Su family first. At this point, Shi Xian showed a hint of dissatisfaction. Who would have thought that Ji Ping, a waste, did not complete his mission and died in Jiangbei instead. Master Shi. Duan Sihai smiled bitterly and said, you can't blame Ji Ping for this. It's that Su Xiantian who is too strong and has endless tricks. Su Xiantian. When Shi Xian heard this, his eyes fell on Duan Sihai and said calmly, I'm looking for you just to ask, what is the origin of the Su Xiantian? I don't know the specifics. I asked someone to investigate, and he seemed to pop out of the cracks in the rocks. Every time he appeared, he would disappear without a trace. Duan Sihai responded, however, it is said that he has some connections with the Jiangbei Su family. He is the sworn brother of Su Qincan, the old man of the Su family. The two have been friends for many years. Perhaps it was because of this relationship that he took action to save the Su Shenbing of the Su family in the Jimen black market a few days ago, Duan Sihai guessed. Shi Xian's expression darkened, and he said coldly, this Su Xiantian dares to ruin my good deeds, and I will cut him into pieces. Haha, Mr. Shi, I won't bother you with this matter. Duan Sihai smiled and said, that Su Xiantian is already dead. Died. Shi Xian frowned and said, why is he dead? Is the news reliable? It's reliable. His head is still in our shadowless section. As for the cause of death. Duan Sihai smiled softly and said, haha, it's a bit sad. This Su Xiantian died in the hands of a trash in the Huajin realm. Our Wuying sect has an affiliated family in Jiangbei. The head of this family organized a hangmen banquet and poisoned Su Xiantian. Today, Su Suanation's head was sent to the Wuying section. Duan Sihai added, I saw with my own eyes that the head is indeed that of Su Xiantian, there is no way it is fake. There is such a thing. Shi Xian was particularly surprised, and then sneered, haha, poor Su Xiantian, he is extremely talented, he can kill half-step earth sects in his early 20s, he is a genius, but he didn't expect to end up like this. Maybe this is just too hard. Sect leader Duan, if that's the case, then I don't have any problems. Shi Xian originally wanted to inquire about Su Xiantian and find an opportunity to kill him, so as not to affect his destruction of the Su family. But now that he knew that Su Xiantian was dead, he naturally had nothing to ask. Master Shi. At this time, Duan Sihai stepped forward and said, I would like to ask, how can you and the Su family have enemies in the sky and on the earth? It's inconvenient to tell you, Shi Xian said lightly. Clear. Duan Sihai did not pursue the question, but asked curiously, Master Shi, with your identity and background, you can send a master from the place of Zen to make the Su family bleed like a river, so why bother? This matter is more complicated and needs to be carried out secretly. I don't want others to know that I destroyed the Su family. Shi Xian stared at Duan Sihai and said calmly, I am telling you this because I want you to help me to bring peace to the Su family. Once this is done, I will be very grateful. Young Master Shi, you're too polite. I don't want to thank you too much. Your grandfather is my master. It's my duty to serve you. Duan Sihai agreed, and then said, Lu Yongxiu, the fourth elder of Wuying sect, is a prolific murderer and happened to go to Jiangbei. I will contact him right away and ask him to go and bloodbath the Su family. Okay, Shi Xian nodded with satisfaction. Duan Sihai didn't hesitate, took out his cell phone and dialed the fourth elder's cell phone number, but no one answered. Haha, the fourth elder has a rather old-fashioned mind and doesn't like electronic communication devices. He may have forgotten to bring his mobile phone. Duan Sihai smiled, and then said, let's do this, Mr. Shi, I will contact the third elder Ding Ziyi. He is in the middle stage of the Earth sect and is enough to sweep the Su family. Shi Xian nodded and said, okay. Duan Sihai immediately found the third elder's mobile phone number and dialed it. The call was put through, but it rang for a long time and no one answered. These two guys. Duan Sihai was a little angry. After a pause for a few seconds, he smiled and said, haha, Mr. Shi, the third elder is old, his ears are not good, and he is not very good at using mobile phones. Well, the second elder Qin Xianglian didn't go out. I saw her in Wuying sect yesterday. I sent someone to find the second elder and ordered her to go to Jiangbei to complete the matter, Duan Sihai said with a smile. Shi Xian was a little impatient, but still nodded and said, okay. There will definitely be no accidents this time. Duan Sihai directly called his cronies. After the call was dialed, he said, ask the second elder to come to the top of the mountain to meet me. I have something to arrange for her. Reply to the sect master. After a pause on the phone, a voice came, the second elder went down the mountain today. As for where he went, the disciples who serve her don't know yet. Damn it, at the critical moment, I can't contact everyone, so they're all dead, right? Duan Sihai hung up the phone angrily and turned to look at Shi Xian, slightly embarrassed. Master Shi, don't worry, these elders will definitely return to Wuying sect in the near future. Whoever comes back first, I will send to destroy them Su family. Fine. Shi Xian was very dissatisfied, but he still nodded and said, Sect Master Duan, remember to keep the secret and don't expose me. Understood. Duan Sihai responded, I will issue an order to destroy the Su family on the grounds that the Su family colluded with Su Xiantian. So best. In addition, I am waiting for you to have good news about the great elder Su Shanju. Leaving behind a few words, Shi Xian jumped down from the top of the mountain. His figure flickered for a few moments before disappearing. Watching Shi Xian leave, Duan Sihai couldn't help but sigh, he is worthy of being carefully cultivated by the land of Fengchan. He is in his 20s and has already entered the late stage of the Earth section. Such talent is really amazing. Su family. Duan Sihai shook his head and sneered, haha, you're just an insignificant ant, and you provoke Mr. Shi. It's not a pity to die. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 220. At the same time, Su Yang returned to the riverside villa. From a distance, he noticed that Li Feixuan was in the living room, so he strode into the living room. At this moment, Li Feixuan was lying on the sofa, watching TV, with a white blanket covering her body. Her exquisite figure was clearly visible. Su Yang walked over, sat at Li Feixuan's feet, smiled softly and said, Honey, I'm sorry to keep you waiting for so long. Su Yang. Li Feixuan seemed to have been electrocuted. She hurriedly sat up, put her legs together tightly, and covered her legs with a blanket. She asked with a red face, Su Yang, what did you do? Why didn't you do it just now? In the villa, I went to the room on the third floor and couldn't find you. There were some urgent matters that I needed to deal with, but they have been resolved now. Su Yang smiled, Honey, you haven't eaten yet. Let's go have a candlelight dinner. Okay. Li Feixuan did not refuse and nodded shyly. Tonight, if she is willing to come to the villa, she has already prepared to devote herself to Su Yang, so when she sees Su Yang, she will think of what will happen next, and her beautiful face will always be red. Honey, let me put on your shoes. Suddenly, Su Yang said with a smile, and then directly held Li Feixuan's ankle regardless of whether Li Feixuan agreed or not. Li Feixuan is not wearing socks. Her feet are small and exquisite, smooth and white. If you look at them from a close distance, you can even see the small blue blood vessels on them, which are very beautiful. Today Li Feixuan wore a pair of crystal high heels, which revealed a touch of nobility in her elegance. Honey, your little feet are so beautiful, they're just killing me. Su Yang showed a smile, couldn't help but kiss her, and then put on Li Feixuan's high heels. Li Feixuan's pretty face turned even redder, and she was too shy to look into Su Yang's eyes. Honey, why don't you put on your shoes? I'll carry you to the restaurant. At this time, Su Yang took off the shoes he had just put on, and the princess hugged Li Feixuan. Good. Li Feixuan bit her red lips and agreed shyly without rejecting Su Yang. In this way, Su Yang carried Li Feixuan to the villa restaurant. Guo Yi was thoughtful and well prepared, and decorated the restaurant in a beautiful and romantic way. Moreover, there is a decanter on the dining table, which contains a lot of red wine, at least 3 bottles. This Guo Yi has done a good job. Su Yang smiled, first put Li Feixuan on the chair, and then sat opposite him. Immediately, he picked up the decanter and poured a full glass of red wine for himself and Li Feixuan. Honey, it's been a long time since we sat down to enjoy a quiet dinner. Let's have a drink. Su Yang smiled. Concubine Li Xian gave Su Yang a blank look and said, Su Yang, are you trying to get me drunk? He, needless to say, if a woman is not drunk, a man has no chance. Su Yang said with a playful smile. Bah, shameless. Li Feixuan curled her lips and said, I'm mentally prepared. You have a chance whether you're drunk or not. Ha ha. Su Yang felt happy in his heart and said with a smile, although I say that, I still drink some wine to feel better. Come on, my wife, let's do it. Okay. Concubine Li announced that she would no longer refuse. Next, the two of them enjoyed delicious food and drinks, and the atmosphere of getting along was relaxed and pleasant. About half an hour later, Li Feixuan put down the tableware, shook her head and said, Su Yang, I've finished eating. Honey, let's have another drink. Su Yang smiled softly and pretended to pour wine for Li Feixuan. No, you can't drink too much liquid, otherwise there will be reverberations during exercise. Concubine Li waved her hand in refusal. Sports. Echo. Su Yang paused for a moment, and after he came to his senses, he couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha, wife, who told you this? Song. Li Feixuan blushed with embarrassment and whispered, she knew that I was coming to accompany you today, so she gave me some precautions. Ha ha. Su Yang asked curiously, wife, what did she tell you and what did she want you to pay attention to? Gag lets me. Just as Li Feixuan was about to say something, Su Yang came over, picked up Li Feixuan, and strode to the living room and to the sofa. Subsequently, Su Yang threw Li Feixuan on the sofa. The soft sofa bounced Li Feixuan up. Her hair was flying, and her messy hair covered her beautiful face. Cough. Teacher Li, why is your face so red? Su Yuyu blinked and asked in confusion. Then, Su Yang hugged Li Feixuan tightly. Li Feixuan also reacted, hurriedly sat up, straightened her clothes, and blushed twice on her face. Dulé, si, what is this? It looks delicious. Can you eat it? Pay attention to hygiene. At this time, Mrs. Fu's sharp eyes found the small square that fell next to the sofa, picked it up and said doubtfully. Su Yang was stunned immediately and quickly stopped what he was doing. his expression slightly embarrassed. Oh, I see. At this time, Su Yang leaned down and lay next to her. While arranging concubine Li's hair, she smiled softly and said, "Now you can tell me what Zhang Yuge taught you." With that said, Su Yang leaned down and wanted to kiss Li Feiquan. Su Yu nodded, and then said with concern, "Dad, then take teacher Li to the hospital quickly, don't burn your head." Su Yang showed a playful smile, then grabbed Li Feiquan's wrist and said, "Honey, I'm very clean, I don't need to take a shower, and I don't mind you being dirty, hee hee." Su Yang took a closer look and smiled softly, "Honey, I didn't expect you to come prepared, haha, but I don't like using this thing. We will be husband and wife soon, so there is no need to use it." Concubine Li Xuanyu's face was flushed and she seemed a little embarrassed to speak, but she still gritted her teeth and said, "You have to be gentle, otherwise I won't be able to get out of bed and walk the next day." Li Feiquan stopped struggling, her heart was beating wildly, and she was ready to hand over her body to Su Yang. "Me." Li Feiquan continued, "This is the most important, Su Yang, don't touch me first, let's go take a bath, and then." But at this moment, Fu Ma and Su Yu walked into the living room and happened to bump into the scene. Li Feiquan was at a loss, and I couldn't explain it for a long time, so I tugged at Su Yang's clothes. "Dad, teacher Li, what are you doing?" Su Yu asked with a curious face and a sweet voice. "Have she do lay? Ha ha. No, Su Yang, go take a shower. Teacher Li is fine. He has already taken antipyretic medicine." Li Feiquan smoothed her hair and smiled awkwardly. "Is there more?" Su Yang asked with a smile. Su Yang, who received the tacit approval, became even more excited and was ready to show off his talents. "Young master." Li Feiquan struggled a few times, and a small square package fell out of her clothes. Li Feiquan gritted her teeth and whispered, "She told me not to be nervous or anxious for the first time, and to take my time, otherwise it is very likely that I will not succeed." Su Yang cleared his throat, and then explained, "Well, teacher Li is sick and has a fever of 38 degrees, that's why his face is so red." "Then what?" Su Yang asked next.